Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, March 23rd. And for all those people in the Great Lakes area that are digging out from the last snowstorm of the winter, which ended last week, we know how you feel because we've been digging out all day. All right, I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The American Civil Liberties Union says a Louisiana school has suspended a 13-year-old Native American boy because of his long hair, which the group says he grew out for cultural and religious reasons. State ACLU Executive Director Marjorie Esmond said last Friday that the group had sent letters to the school and the school board asking for assurances that Seth, let me see that name, Chazian won't be suspended again. She says he grew out his hair because his religious beliefs have grown deeper. Esmond says the teen was repeatedly reprimanded because of his hair before being suspended on March 15th and March 16th. Ed Foster, supervisor of child welfare and attendance for the Livingston Parish School System, says he has scheduled a meeting with the boy's mother. He said he could not discuss the situation further, citing privacy concerns. Trailers are expected to arrive this week to temporarily house those displaced by a February 12th wildfire that destroyed 18 homes on tribal land at White Swan on the Yakima Nation Reservation in Washington. Harry Smiskin of the Yakima Nation Tribal Council says the tribe has secured 14 trailers through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The tribe is also buying 5 mobile homes to temporarily house those victims. Many of the families have been staying at hotels since the fire. The Yakima Herald-Republic says the Washington State Department of Emergency Management has also finished a damage assessment, a step required before the state can seek a disaster declaration. A 20-year-old Navajo man has been sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison for assaulting a minister on the Navajo reservation. A federal judge also ordered William Skeet of Pinedale to serve 3 years of supervised release and pay restitution to the victim. Prosecutors say Skeet assaulted the minister as he was driving around the reservation and picking up people for a party at the Morning Star Baptist Church. The victim was turning his church van around near Skeet's home when Skeet ran up to the van and punched him. Skeet tried to pull the minister out of the van, but he drove away. Before the assault, the minister had reported Skeet to his father for teaching a pit bull to be aggressive. Skeet's father then took the dog away. Facing mounting pressure from Congress over gray wolves, wildlife advocates reached an agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior last Friday to lift the species' federal protection in Montana and Idaho and allowing hunting to resume. The settlement agreement, opposed by some environmentalists, is intended to resolve years of litigation that have shielded wolves in the northern Rockies from public hunting, even as the predator's population has sharply expanded and rebounded. Court documents detailed the proposed agreement were filed in U.S. District Court in Montana. It would keep the species on the endangered list, at least temporarily, in 4 states where they are considered most vulnerable: Wyoming, Oregon, Washington, and Utah. And the deal calls for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to set up a scientific panel that will re-examine wolf recovery goals, calling for a minimum of 300 wolves in the region. A population-sized wildlife advocates criticizes inadequate. More than 1,300 wolves were tallied in Montana and Idaho in recent counts by state, federal, and tribal biologists. Citing the recent suspension of the wind sighting rules and the uncertainty generated by the current legislative and regulatory climate, Invenergy announced this week that it would no longer pursue the development of a proposed wind farm in Brown County, Wisconsin. Governor Walker's war on wind energy is killing good jobs, said Keith Rospella, Senior Policy Director at Clean Wisconsin. 80% of Wisconsin residents support wind energy, yet the governor and the Republican legislative leaders seem determined to keep wind farms from being built in our state. Earlier this month, the Joint Committee for Review of Administrative Rules voted on party lines to suspend PSC 128, a set of rules created by the Public Service Commission to replace a chaotic patchwork of local ordinances for permitting wind farms with sensible statewide standards. Wind companies and clean energy advocates alike have warned that suspending or repealing the wind siting rule would result in canceled projects and lost jobs. The back room at Kenai Visitors and Culture Center is a frenzy of found objects and their stories. With financial support from the city of Kenai, the center recently hired Christina Khan to undertake an inventory of the whole collection. That's about 3,000 objects, she said. Khan's job is to catalog the objects and help tell their stories. She's about halfway through them, although some she had looked at during a 2009 internship, so those will go more quickly. Executive Director Natasha Alla said the objects are only useful as they tell or enhance the story. The goal is to help connect future visitors to each item, said Laura Forbes, the Director of Programs and Exhibits. Part of the inventory process is figuring out just what everything is. In 1990, the center got a flatbed truckload of stuff from Fort Kenai. Not all of that had good records associated with it, and some of the donations brought in by local community members over the years are missing details about what they represent. And that is going to be the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us, and if you're in the Great Lakes area, happy shoveling.